Right, what's happening, gang? How are you doing? Welcome on back to Football Therapy with me, your host Jan. I hope you're doing well, mate. I really do hope that. Welcome back to Chelsea News, which, of course, is the daily series here on Football Therapy, where I react to what's being said about Chelsea Football Club, giving you my thoughts, feelings, and opinions on it, but more importantly, as always, asking for yours, and unsurprisingly, it's continuing on the narrative of the new manager, which is heating up with Xabi Alonso. Today I am referencing an article from The Athletic written by Simon Johnson that goes into detail about the stature, the style that would galvanise Chelsea and why it's good. So that's a little bit of hopium added to the brain when it comes to Xabi Alonso. But in terms of the reality of him being linked to Chelsea, I am going back to Cy Phillips' Substack, who has done an update this morning. He has got good information, Simon. He's been often proven, I don't think he gets enough credit. He often breaks stuff before mainstream media, he gets there first and probably doesn't get enough credit. So we're going to get into that today. Thank you for joining me. Lock yourselves in. Let's get into it. Remember that old sound bite I used to do? So here we go. Cy Phillips sources Xabi Alonso not making any major demands, but emphasising the importance of defence. And talks are progressing well. Chelsea throwing everything at it. Well, that's what I want to hear. For me, the drop-off is biblical. The Xabi Alonso, who I do genuinely think would be a really suitable, dare I say, considering the managerial landscape and market, he's the perfect candidate in my eyes. Some might say Cesc Fabregas. Some might say, someone else, Guardiola. But, Guardiola's hardly a spent force, but I feel like we need someone like Xabi. Do you know what I mean? There is the spectre of Liverpool. There are some people reporting that, he would prefer to go to Liverpool, and that wouldn't surprise me. But also, I'm kind of guessing and theorising that after what happened at Real Madrid, one of his previous beloved clubs, that maybe an external big club, I don't know why I did that, but I don't know why, inverted commas, Chelsea is a big club, but an external one away from Bayern, Real Madrid and Liverpool could give him the appropriate platform to rebuild and truly build something excellent. Let me just pause while I sip my coffee. Délicieux, mon café. Ouais, continuez avec l'article. I wonder what article? Le Papier Information? As the media have caught up with our exclusives on Xabi Alonso to Chelsea, patting himself on the back there, but rightly so, we can reveal a few more updates as at 7 a.m. on Tuesday morning when he wrote this article. It was published on 9:30 a.m. UK time. Every top journalist and outlet are now reporting that Chelsea and Xabi Alonso are in positive talks, as we first revealed on Sunday morning on the site. They're all now admitting that Alonso's is Chelsea's first choice for a new manager, as we first reported deep into last week on the site. So, for those people who are digging out, me referencing site, he gets things right, mate. Do you know what I mean? Things are moving forward between Alonso and Chelsea, and there is some optimism creeping in amongst most reports here. So let's get into it. What is the latest? Well, SPTC sources have heard Chelsea are, quote, throwing everything at getting this done. And they do want Xabi Alonso as the new Chelsea manager. And they want him in the door before the World Cup begins. So this is very much get him in, get him working at Cobham while, some players are not at the World Cup. Not one of these clubs that are going to wait for a World Cup country manager. What was that? I laboured through that sentence to be available. I'm just Julian Nagelsmann, should he be available? Some people might be weighing out for him. Also, some people might have been weighing on Tuchel, but of course he's nailed his colours to the England mast and extended, so he'll be, coaching the England team for the Euros as well. So he's unavailable. Not that he'd come to Chelsea under these owners after the fallout, but, a Man United or whatever might have considered Tuchel. This does not mean they will definitely land Alonso. There are backup choices, with Andoni Iraola being next in line, and Cesc Fabregas remains there. So Cesc's plan, and this is not from Substack here, Sci Substack, Fabregas is planning to manage Como in Europe next season, continue his dream, But there is this idea of like, take your chances when they come. The same reason why Lampard took the Chelsea job originally, or why like a Maresca took it early in his career, or Rosinia couldn't say no. Or Graham Potter. I'm not saying Cesc is going to be like Graham Potter. I'm saying when Chelsea comes calling, when these opportunities come, everyone in the media or fans are easy to say, "Oh, don't take that job." But, you'll be mental to go there. But it's the same as Man United the last 15 years. They always go there if the job comes up. So Fabregas is still there. Generally, Cesc would be a really exciting appointment for Chelsea fans. I keep saying it. It's like this sort of like romantic choice, and he is a promising coach. But for me, the perfect choice is Alonso, and then the drop off to others is if we're discounting Cesc, is pretty big. I think Felipe Luis, I say part of me would prefer him to like an Andoni Iraola. No, you could say he's also an ex-Chelsea player for one season, and he wasn't a starter. But there's something like exotic and cool about Felipe Luis, and just tore it up the Brazilian league and impressed everyone in the Club World Cup. But you could say, Andoni Iraola makes more sense. I get that. But for some reason, just the Bournemouth manager, like we've had the Brighton manager before, like we've had the Leicester manager and the Strasbourg manager, the guy who managed the invincible Bundesliga title and was wrongly dismissed by Real Madrid, who got a lot worse after he left. That's the Galactico superstar. That's why I'm saying the drop-off after Xabi Alonso is huge, and that's what we're going to learn about a bit more in detail about him from this article from The Athletic in just a moment. Xabi Alonso, the stature and style that would galvanise Chelsea. Let's keep reading. Alrighty. So Fabregas is still there, and there's Oliver Glasner. Again, Oliver Glasner. Oliver Glasner does not do it for me, with the greatest of respect. I was told yesterday that Chelsea want to speak with Glasner's people, but all of this is contingency plans if they cannot land Alonso as priority. But nothing is done yet, and nothing is advanced for Alonso to Chelsea at this moment. And now, of course, Fabrizio Romano is coming out. Yesterday, when I did this video on Substack, some of you gave me grief in the comments, and then David Ornstein did an article on The Athletic about Xabi Alonso to Chelsea. It's a very real thing, yeah? For those of you saying I'm being clickbaity, I'm being real. I'm reacting, and I'm just presenting accordingly. Okay? Lock in, and make sure you like and subscribe, because I'm going to navigate you through a very, hopefully, beneficially transformative summer, but an unknown one as it stands. So nothing's advanced at the moment. However, it is positive, which is good to hear. And talks are, quote, progressing well, is the last I've heard on it, writes Phillips. I am unsure yet if there's been face-to-face talks with Alonso. So there may have just been Zoom calls, telephone calls, intermediaries, or maybe there has been face-to-face. But Chelsea are working hard to get him in. Further on this, we've been told that Alonso is not asking for the keys in terms of control at Chelsea or making any major demands, which probably is a lot better for the reality of this appointment happening. Alonso believes Chelsea need to add two new centre-backs, and he wants to make sure that they will be addressed as a priority. So yeah, building a new defence. I don't think any Chelsea fan will have, building around Levi Colwill and Reece James really is a sort of priority. I'm sure he'll love, fellow Spain international Marc Cucurella. In the next few days and weeks, Chelsea will try and get Alonso over the line, and things are progressing in the background. I'm unsure whether anything will be announced before the season ends. Yeah, might be a distraction as well. Distraction to our race to 7th or 8th place. As in not to disrupt anything, so we will still have to be patient. But everything is going in for Alonso right now. Chelsea will still talk to other managers at the same time, though, just in case. I want to reiterate, to finish this off update, that nothing is done yet. And Chelsea has still some way to go. So they're putting in the graft. He is a priority. And interestingly, and perhaps unsurprisingly, he wants to address the defence as a matter of priority and sign two new central defenders. Sounds good to me. Right, let's learn a little bit more about the gaffer himself. Xabi Alonso has the stature star that would galvanise Chelsea, writes Simon Johnson. This was published last night. 20-10, so I'll react this morning. It's far from a done deal yet, but Chelsea's pursuit of Xabi Alonso certainly makes a lot of sense. The news broke on Monday. Chelsea are exploring a deal to make the former Real Madrid, Liverpool and Bayern midfielder their new head coach. It's not a great surprise. Alonso has been on their wish list from the moment Rosinia was sacked last month. Bournemouth's departing Andoni Iraola is also still regarded as a strong contender, having been earmarked from the outset. But what this dressing room needs is someone that can command instant respect from the moment they walk in the room. Church, this freaking squad needs to just... You know, they will work hard, the Chelsea team. I know we've been outrun every single game apart from the last game this season. But they will dig in, and they will press, and they will listen to tactical instructions. They will do it. They're not like that Real Madrid. Listen, Xabi, they're not like that Real Madrid dressing room. They will do it. They will track back, they will work hard, but they need to respect you, and they will respect you. And this is why I've been singing the praises, or I've been, waxing lyrical about him as a managerial candidate long before he even got to Real Madrid. And in the same way I was... I don't want to jinx it, but in the same way I was like, for like months and months before he was even linked to Chelsea, I was like, Chelsea should sign Wesley Fofana. Now, I recognise many of you don't like Wesley Fofana, but for me he was a dream centre-back signing. Maybe it hasn't worked out, maybe it still will. But I was similarly thinking about in manager terms about Xabi Alonso, so that'll be ruddy dope. As reported, as reported when Rosinia left Stamford Bridge, the lack of a bond between himself and the players was a major factor in why his tenure only stretched to 107 days. Alonso's playing career alone will make the players want to listen to what he has to say. He's achieved a lot more than they have done across his career as a player and as a head coach, and that makes a big difference. He won 11 major trophies with Liverpool, Madrid and Bayern, including 2 Champions League titles. He was also part of the Spain squad that triumphed in the 2010 World Cup and claimed 2 European championships, both in 2008 and 2012. Different gravy granules, mate. He's a superstar. Most of the current squad were at Chelsea when they won the UEFA Conference League and FIFA Club World Cup last season. Captain Reece James is the only one left from the Champions League success in 2021, while Enzo Fernandez lifted the World Cup, of course, in 2022, just before we bought him. But their records all still pale in comparison that of Alonso. Remember when Estevao couldn't believe that Rosinia was a professional footballer after he saw his touch on the, touchline. Poor Liam. At least you joked about it. Granted, being a great player does not necessarily make you guaranteed winner as a coach, but it sure grabs the player's attention, knowing you would achieve this kind of success that you have yet to taste. It's like when friggin... What's his face? Oh my god. Wow, how the fucking... Oh, Ruddy. I'm not going to edit that out. I was talking about I didn't swear, and now my brain's melted. Rafa Benitez! What? That's what I was thinking of. For example, when he was trying to coach Cristiano Ronaldo at Real Madrid, a great coach, Rafa Benitez, like won all these trophies or whatever. Obviously, incidentally linked to Liverpool as well. He was trying to tell Cristiano Ronaldo to take free kicks, and Ronaldo was like, shut up, bruv. But then when Zidane comes in, succeeds him, he's like, I'll give you a free kick competition. And apparently he beat him, Zidane. And then Ronaldo's like, all right, how do you do it? Is it just an example of something similar of, Rosinia to Xabi Alonso, Rosinia trying to tell Enzo Fernandez how to kick a ball, and then Xabi Alonso coming in and saying it's different, yeah? Yeah, he's proven now. He talks about his managerial career. He's proven himself as a manager in his own right. When he was put in charge of Leverkusen in October 2022, having started out learning his trade with Real Madrid's under-14s, Real Sociedad B, and then of course they were in the the Bayer were in the relegation zone in the Bundesliga. He took over a team struggling for confidence and results, just like Chelsea had been for months. Hey, it's like us! Within 2 years, he guided them to the first Bundesliga title in their history and won the German Cup as well. Bayer Leverkusen remarkably did so unbeaten in the domestic campaign. The only loss in a competition across 53 games was the Europa League final against Atalanta, where Lookman just scored a hattie and then a weird loss. But yeah, he nearly won the invincible treble. He set his team up to play an entertaining brand of football in a 3-4-2-1 formation. Chelsea love that. Thomas Tuchel. A system that suited... I still have reservations if that's a Premier League winning formation. Certainly in recent years in the Guardiola domination, but maybe times are changing in the Prem and you can win titles of 84 points or 85 points again. And maybe that formation, I don't know, maybe the way football's changing in the Premier League, maybe a back three could do it again. But in the time since we won it with a back three in 2017, I'd say next season, so that 10-year period, I think that's a decade of back three doesn't win the Premier League. But maybe times are changing. We'll get into tactics and stuff. If this gets over the line, we'll go into a bit deeper with Xabi Alonso and how his Chelsea could look. A system that suits the Chelsea squad. So they link another article here talking about how the Chelsea's squad suits Alonso's preferred formation. They have been accustomed to playing free back in possession under Maresca and Rosinia for the past 2 seasons. Crucially, Alonso improved players while he was there. Of course, in Florian Wirtz, who went to Liverpool for $158 million last summer. Wirtz, at his best, plays with a similar swagger of Cole Palmer. So I've already spoken about this in recent content, about him fixing Cole Palmer and basically Wirtzing him up, making him not Wirtz, but better. That joke's never going to die for me, I'm sorry. An elite player who's lost some of his sparkle over the last 18 months. That can be put partly down to injury and fatigue, yet there's always been the suspicion that he preferred the more attacking style and freedom introduced to the side by Pochettino. We're talking about Cole Palmer here. Yeah, maybe. Another beneficiary from working with Alonso at Leverkusen was Frimpong, who of course also moved to Liverpool. Speaking to The Athletic, the right-back lavished Alonso with praise in 2024, how he had the transformative effect in his career. Can you do the same thing with Gusto, please? He dropped a stinker the other day. I think Gusto's capable of having good games, but my word, he was bad the other day. But Frimpong said this about Xabi Alonso: everybody understands him. When he's an idea, he can make it make sense to all the players. Wow, that's a refreshing change, isn't it? I always feel like I know how to use my abilities. That, to me, is a huge positive. I don't want to get overexcited, but he does sound perfect. Don't you touch him, Liverpool. Alright, let's keep moonwalking through The Athletic then. Crucially, Alonso knows the demands of the Premier League from his playing days, which is helpful, I guess. It will not take him time to adapt. His language skills will also be a major asset, given the Spanish-speaking contingent were left particularly upset when Maresca's departure in January. This would appear very easy to ensure everyone's back on side. Fluent in English, Spanish, probably German. You might have some Portuguese in there, but you don't really need to at this point. There are some obvious caveats when it comes to Alonso's candidacy for his job. His performance at Leverkusen has already been rewarded with the move to Madrid, a club that carries greater pressure and expectations. I'll argue Chelsea don't have anywhere near as high expectations. After being officially announced in May, he was sacked 7 months into a 3-year contract. A major factor in his dismissal, other than the results, but he was 1 point off top. It's because they lost the cup final, I think. But now they're 14, 15 points up top. It was them, not him. That's what I'd say. He struggled to handle the big egos in the dressing room. That does sound worryingly familiar to everything Rosinia had endured. But also, Rosinia is a lower profile than Xabi by some distance. And the Real Madrid egos are more inflated egos by the Chelsea ones by some distance. So they should meet in the middle, in theory. Madrid is on another level, there you go, when it comes to politics and intense scrutiny. Agreed. Alonso is not the first to suffer a short stint in the dugout at the Bernabeu. You could argue that he's actually learned some valuable lessons from the experience that he will carry forward into his next job. Hopefully Chelsea stay away Liverpool. Alonso was a very strong connection with one of Chelsea's fierce rivals in Liverpool. When Chelsea hired Benitez as interim head coach in 2012, the decision was poorly received by the fans. I don't think it will be the same now. Admittedly, that was born from the angst that had built up over the years. Benitez was in charge at Anfield, and the two clubs playing significant games against each other, including 3 Champions League semi-finals. Benitez was prone to making what were perceived as inflammatory comments about Chelsea in press conferences during his spell on Merseyside. Remarks were he was not allowed to forget, basically, when he came at Stamford Bridge. Xabi Alonso will not be getting the Benitez treatment. I'll put the farm on that, mate. Especially because we're in the ruddy trenches right now as well, and he's mustard. Alonso was a key Liverpool player under Benitez from 2004 to 2009, a 5-year period. One of his main lieutenants out on the pitch before leaving for Real Madrid. But he was never actually the target for any animosity from the Chelsea crowd. The hostility tended to be reserved for Steve Gerrard. He slipped on his F. No, he passed it to Demba. Steve Gerrard. In truth, those who follow Chelsea have grown so tired of seeing their club become an also-ran. They have not won the Premier League since 2017. Yikes! They have finished in the top 4 just once in the new Bowley Clear Lake Consortium era. Awful. That Alonso's past will be forgotten if he's makes them a genuine force again. Mate, if he makes us half a force, I think it'll be forgotten, all the Liverpool links. And it'll be funny. Him coaching Chelsea, beating Liverpool, great fun. I'm here for it. There's certainly more positives than negatives when it comes to his candidacy. All of those have been linked. Perhaps only Fabregas would be more welcomed by Chelsea supporters. We spoke about that earlier. A legacy of how he shone as a midfielder at Stamford Bridge for just similarly a 5-year period like Alonso at Liverpool. Yet prizing him away from Como will be difficult. Alonso, in contrast, is available now. The process is still ongoing, and no one should get too carried away until an official announcement is made. Iraola has certainly earned a lot of respect from the work he's done with Bournemouth, who are 6 points above Chelsea with 2 games to play this season. It's hard to ignore that Alonso and Chelsea could be a very good fit. Right, Simon Johnson of The Athletic, hashtag mic drop. The main thing here is that those ruddy Scousers, and he's not a Scouser, he's Spanish, stay away, yeah? Stay with Arne Slot. Stay with Arne Slot. And we get Xabi Alonso. Everybody wins. Am I right? I am genuinely quite worried about, about Liverpool links, because obviously he loves Liverpool. Liverpool have got more ready-made players to succeed now. If I'm basically banking they stick with Arne Slot, and if they choose to find a new manager, maybe Xabi will be just wary because of his experience with Real Madrid. It's huge, like hopium, copium, whatever your kids want to call it these days, but that is where we are at. But do let me know your thoughts, gang. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you for liking and subscribing the video and swiping over here and dropping your hype points. That's very kind of you, and I'm very grateful to those of you listening on sound platforms, podcast platforms. Simply search Football Therapy Podcast, and even if you watch on YouTube, please hop over there and give me a follow and a 5-star review. Rating, it's not even a review, just click 5 stars on Spotify and Apple. I'll be here to update you. See you soon. Take care of yourselves. Look after each other. Enjoy the football if you can. Peace.